need to unmute the screen real quick.
Okay.
That's okay. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what I thought. One moment. Figure this out. Got that? Sweet. Okay.
Cool.
That explains a little bit everything, but we're good. We should be good to go. I'll get a mute. I can mute and unmute this remotely, so I'll be doing that.
Okay.
But if you're good to go, I'm good to go.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet. He might come up first, and then somebody else might introduce him, and then it'll be this. Most likely.
Oh, don't, no,
Yeah.
because I don't want it to generate a new code yet.
Should be all right.
Okay.
I'm gonna unmute the. Can I unmute the screen? Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna introduce you or something, I'm sure.
All right, thank you very much.
It's nice to see you again. If you could please settle and take your seats. Welcome to this closing presentation of the Integrity of Creation Conference. This is our 5th anniversary conference. Welcome to our streaming community worldwide. The program, and including this closing presentation, is being streamed globally to our Spiritan communities and others. So welcome everybody, welcome our faculty, our students, welcome our committee, welcome our faculty fellows, and above all, welcome our speakers who have been with us for the entire conference. And to introduce our final speaker, Thomas McQuillan, I'm going to have Jamie Moore from Parker's coming up to speak, to introduce Thomas. Thank you. Please.
Good evening. So to start off, I had a quick conversation with Thomas last week. We sat down and had a great conversation sort of about what he was going to talk about. And you all are really in for a treat, I have to say. One of the things I learned quickly in a very short period of time is that he's passionate about turning a liability into an asset. And if you noticed in my talk earlier, I tried not to use the word, Thomas, can you please cover your ears? Waste. Thomas does not use the word waste. Instead, I'm going to use that word. In place of it, I'm going to use a word by the name that Thomas coined, which is called sparks. And that's spelled S-P-A-R-C-S, which is scraps spelled backwards. Thomas and I have similar responsibilities as we work on advancing sustainability within our own companies. In 2015, Thomas started working for Baldor Specialty Foods out of Bronx, New York, on their executive team, and is now the Vice President of Strategy, Culture, and Sustainability. I thought I had a long title. No. Thomas got me on that one. So Baldor Specialty Foods is a produce and a specialty foods company that distributes and services the Northeast through distribution centers in New York City, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Baldor Specialty Foods' differentiator is their fresh cut facility that takes whole produce items and converts them into 100% usable product. In operating such a facility, there obviously are quite a bit of sparks at the end of the day. Thomas realized that some of these sparks could be repurposed into a product that could be sold to their customers, or it could be diverted to other companies that were looking for high nutrient dense sparks. Today, Baldor Specialty Foods generates 150,000 pounds of sparks weekly. And as of November 10th of 2016, they surpassed 25 million pounds of sparks that have been diverted, I say. 10% is diverted to chefs and restaurants, and the other 90% is converted to a dehydrator that they dehydrate and turn it into chicken feed. I'm looking forward to hearing more about Thomas's journey on making Baldor Specialty Foods 100% landfill free. I'd like to introduce Thomas McQuillan.
Thank you, Jamie. We're going to start with a quick video, but before I do that, I have to say I am so happy to be here. This is a home for me. I'm a 1988 graduate of Duquesne University. So much has changed here at Duquesne, physically, but the spirit is the same. It is so exciting to be here. Let's watch a quick video, and then I'm going to join you for some comments on that video and start the presentation. We've partnered with 4 local chefs to create a meal tonight that is 100% waste-free. In this event, there will be no garbage pails. There will only be composting bins, because at the end of this meal, nothing, absolutely zero, will go to landfill. We've decided in this event to prove that we could feed 312 people a delicious gourmet meal, 4 courses, and generate no waste. How did we do it? We partnered with local and national grower shippers who provided us food product that might otherwise been wasted. So we took food that for whatever reason in the past we decided was not useful, and we've created a meal out of that food. So that was just an excerpt of the whole video, but I wanted to show that because that's really where we need to get to. Get to a place where 100% of the food that we manage as farmers and as distributors and as restaurateurs is consumed. That has to be the goal. Would you mind starting the PowerPoint for me? Or do you want me to? I guess I'll drive. I want to start by congratulating the team that came up with today's conference title, because I have spent so much time thinking about the integrity of creation, because for me, it says it all. It really says it all, because at the end of the day, I'm just an instrument in my lifetime to impact in the most meaningful way creation. And I have a moral responsibility, not just as a Catholic, but as a person, to universally adore and support creation every moment of my life. That's what we are called to do. And so this work that I have the pleasure of working on allows me that. It affords me it every single day of my life. And so I'm about to take you on a journey. I'm so happy you're all here to take this journey. And anybody in the back that wants to come sit close to me, I'd rather you be here than in the back of the room, so please move on up. This is not church. So what you see here is a farm. Has anyone in the room ever worked on a farm? Can you raise your hand? Oh, so many of you. This is wonderful. Well, only this side of the room. That side of the room has never worked on a farm. So the next Integrity of Creation Conference must require that all of you work on a farm before you come here. Because before your feet have trod on dirt and soil, you have not known God. The farmers are the closest to God because soil is the origin of most of what we consume that doesn't come from the sea. And we get really close to God when we get close to our food and our food source. And it's a wonderful experience to be on a farm because there's a few things you learn very quickly. Number one, people that are going to buy that food are depending on your work, and they cannot live without you. Two, it's really hard work to work on a farm, and you begin to appreciate the food in a different way when you work a farm, and it will change your life forever. When I was 13 years old, I worked on a farm called Batachi's, very close to where I lived. And my first job on the farm was to pick green beans. I picked 2 bushels of green beans in one full day. I got paid $2 a bushel. At the end of the day, I said to Mr. Batachi, I really love working here, but I was already kind of this tall, and I couldn't do this all day. I physically couldn't do it. If you've never worked picking a row crop before, it's really hard. And the taller you are, I think the harder it is. So he said, well, I'm sorry, that's the only job I have for you. And I kind of showed up the next day. And I remember going to the store. My brother Kevin's here, he can tell you this. And I was like, I'm here to work, but I can't pick beans. But I can do anything else. And I started working on the farm. And I have never stopped thinking about those green beans. And no matter where I am, and no matter what plate I see a green bean in, I eat 100% of them. Because I respect so much that hand that picked that green bean. I think about that person and the contributions they're making to me and my family and my community by picking those green beans. We need to get really excited about the gift that farmers give us every day and make a commitment to use 100% of the food that they produce for us every day. And we're going to talk about that. And you might be thinking, that's not possible. I'm telling you, John, that's possible. Do you believe me? Good. What do you see? Tom Lusk is in the audience. Dr. Lusk loves this photo. He saw me speak a couple of weeks ago at a conference in New York, and I showed this picture, and I've been using it since because audiences love it. What do you see? What do you see? A mountain of apples. Hi, Scott. What do you see? He sees green beans. And what do you see, Millie's ice cream person? Millie, Lauren, how are you? What do you see? I see tomatoes. Where are the tomatoes? Where are these tomatoes? I'm sorry, Father? Yeah, so where are they? They're in the field. They have been picked, but they're in a pile. They're in a pile because the farmer picked these tomatoes, brought them to the packing shed, looked at the orders from all their distributors, and they didn't have orders for this particular speck of tomato. So they didn't know what to do with them, so they put them in a pile to compost. This is an organic farm a couple of hours north of New York City. So of course, my sustainability team brought back this picture to me. And I saw this picture and I was freaking out. I'm like, what is this? Like, Thomas, you won't believe, but last year, the farmers had to do this with 1 million pounds of heirloom tomatoes. These retail, as you well know, heirlooms for $6.99 a pound, and they're organic. So reached out to the farmer, I met with them, and I said, I want those tomatoes. Now, I might not be able to take these tomatoes because they've already been outside, but next year, or whatever else you have this year, we want them at Baldor. We're going to find a home for them. So we embarked on a journey. And last year, we were able to capture 4,000 cases of these tomatoes and bring them to our customer base. This year, anybody go to the U.S. Open in New York for tennis this year? Please say yes. No? Okay, that's another thing we all need to do together. So at the U.S. Open, the caprese salad, which they served in the club this year, showcased these numbers 2 heirloom tomatoes. And people raved about them. We captured this year 8,000 cases. Folks, we're on a journey. We are going to get to a place where 100% of these tomatoes do not get put in a pile and are sent to compost. So we heard today about the targets. Is Dr. Sharad, you're amazing. You're amazing. I have to watch your presentation if it's on video slowly because you move so quickly. Every time I was like, okay, I think I understand that. Oh, okay, she's on to something else. Those of you who missed that presentation, that was unbelievable. I'm thinking about going back to school so I could be your student. But she was talking about the targets, and actually it's really funny that I'm here this week because in New York, I'm based out of New York City, as you heard from Jamie, and this is UN Security Week, which is already nuts for Baldor because we serve them a lot of their food, but also because of the climate crisis conferences you can imagine that I've been asked to be at. My sister-in-law, Amanda, who works here for Duquesne, she had asked me to be part of this conference months ago, and I said yes. I didn't even look at the dates. Of course I'm going to come. When I looked at this 2 weeks ago, I was like, there's no way I can't be in New York for all the things happening in New York this week. But this is something that gets me super excited. And this is a lot of the chatter is around these STGs, these opportunities for us to have meaningful impact on our environment in many, many different ways. And as our professor Sharad said to us today, you don't have to pick all of these, but pick one. Pick a couple and work on them. Climate change is super important to me, and we're going to talk about why in a second. But look at the commitment that countries are making to this challenge. And it's really exciting to see that this is not a localized phenomenon or something we're just dealing with here, but the world is really paying attention to this issue. Some interesting stats on food waste that I think is really interesting. This basically is saying that of all the fresh water we have in the United States, 21% of it goes to waste because we don't eat the food that we grow with that water. What? What are we doing? That's just what? That's crazy. Look at what we do with land volume. I work closely with the World Wildlife Fund. You've been to different zoos, World Wildlife Fund supporting them. World Wildlife Fund and food waste are inextricably linked because what the World Wildlife Fund is basically saying, okay, if you're going to waste 21% of the land that you're already using to grow food, can we have that land for wild animals? You don't have to do another thing. But actually, as a sustainability solution, if the farmer could reduce the percentage of land they use to grow on because they're discarding it anyway, why couldn't we give that back to nature? And what we start to think about is all the solutions that we reach by doing that. Less labor, less water use, less energy, and we create an environment for the wild species that deserve access to that land. So food waste, the reduction of it, and the World Wildlife Fund's mission are very closely aligned. So we do a lot of work together. Look at fertilizer. So we create fertilizer, human-made products that we add to the soil. I don't want to get too much into this, but imagine for a second, why are we adding fertilizers to our soil? There's got to be a good reason. One of the presenters today talked about, I think it was Ronan. Was it Ronan who mentioned he was in Ethiopia? No, not Ethiopia. He was in Kenya. And he was with some of the boys from Ireland. Where are those kids? They're amazing. Why are you in the back? Come up, sit here. Right now. Come on. Right here. I told you to sit up front. Come on. These boys were in Kenya doing mission work. And what he described to us is this opportunity to go see this magnificent place on this rock promontory. And when they walked out there was a priest with them who's been in this community for 40 years and said, look at what you see. And all they see today is a dust bowl, a red clay dust bowl, where there once were trees and wild animals and grasslands. And I could imagine how devastated the priest was, but imagine how devastated the people who called this home, who clearly cannot live there anymore. What we need to understand is, why did that happen? And how do we reverse that? And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have the answer. That's pretty crazy. Let's keep going. In the United States, we waste $218 billion on food that we grow, some that we leave on the farm, that we grow and bring to a distribution center, and some of it gets lost there. Some of it goes to a restaurant, and we choose not to eat it. Some people tonight didn't eat all their pot roast. I was watching you, Charles. Charles ate all his pot roast. He was at my table. He knew I better eat all my pot roast. So sometimes food gets lost somewhere along the line, but I'm challenging you to think about how you could consume 100% of that food, how we can convince restaurants to use 100% of that food, how we can get a commitment from distributors like Baldor to put to use 100% of that food, and farmers to glean 100% of the value of the food they grow. $218 billion business. For those of you studying here at Duquesne Business, think about that. There are not a lot of businesses where there is $218 billion out there waiting to be utilized. So this is pretty awesome. 1 in 7 people in the United States are food insecure. Let's talk about food insecurity for a second. What does it mean? It doesn't mean these people aren't eating. What it means is they're eating food that is not providing them the nutrition they need to grow and be nurtured and be healthy. So they may get calories, but they're not getting nutrition. And that's one of the things we need to change up. We need to make sure we are getting nutrition to those in our community who most need it. And this is not a choice we make. This is something we have to do. We have to make that commitment. And if we're going to be a people of faith and we choose not to do that, then we're as guilty as anybody in that supply chain who's not bringing food to the food insecure. You have to make this your mission. Food insecurity is a really interesting thing because we have an image of that person in our world who's food insecure. Might be a guy on the street, kind of messed up, dirty. That's part of it. That's a very small part of it. It's the children in the city of New York who are given 4 ounces of fruit or vegetables every day, part of the food that they're given by the city of New York, because that's all that's required. And guess what? The potato chip manufacturers and frozen pizza companies are trying to argue with the USDA that frozen pizza was a vegetable. There's tomatoes on that. And there are produce organizations that are saying, no, that has to be fresh fruits and vegetables. Can you imagine we're only getting 4 ounces into these kids? We need to materially change that. And a lot of these children leave school at the end of the day and are still food insecure. You know how much food a junior high school kid can eat. 4 ounces of fruit. Have you seen a 4-ounce cup? Not enough. And then they go home. God forbid it's Friday, because they spend 2 days, in many instances, not eating. That's a big chunk of these people. But you know what's another chunk? It's the widow that lives down the block from you, who lost her husband and is desperately depressed and is not eating. And you owe it to her to find her and feed her and love her with food. So when you finish your dinner and you're finished cooking and there's bolognese left over, you bring it to a food insecure person. You have to do this. You don't have a choice. You must do this. Everybody's in? Well, not everybody, but I got 90% of you. So we heard a little bit about Baldor earlier, and we are a food distributor, and we used to look at food as like box in, box out, or even the food we process, as Jamie described. We had a process to manage that food. I attended a conference in Stanford in 2016, April, and all these major U.S. corporations talking about 2030 and 2050 and what they were going to do then. And I was sitting there thinking, as you mentioned earlier today, you said 2050, I'm going to be 70. What were you, 2030, you're going to be 70. I can't wait that long. Anyway, I'm listening in this conference, I'm listening to all these presenters talk about what they're going to do down the road, and I'm getting frustrated. A little earlier that day, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I was in the gym. Produce industry, we start at 4 a.m. This is bedtime for me. Right, Kev? Oh, yeah. I don't usually stay up this late. I'm up. I flew into California. Of course, I took BART downtown San Francisco, and then I got on the Caltrain out to Palo Alto. You can do it. You don't have to jump in an Uber. And I got there, went to bed pretty early, got up, went to the gym. I'm working out in the gym. Of course, the lights are off. And some gentleman comes in and said, excuse me, mind if I turn the lights on? I'm like, if you have to. You're going to be on an elliptical. I don't know why you need lights, but okay. turns the lights on. He's working out next to me. He's like, you must be jet lagging from New York. And I said, yeah, a little bit, but I do get up pretty early. I start telling him about some of the things I'm thinking about, but at that point, Baldor did not have a solution. And he said, what you're talking about is like really revolutionary. Will you talk at the conference tomorrow? I'm the money behind the conference. And I want you to take my time at the end of the conference. I said, okay. So it's 4:45. We've been beaten up all day about what people are going to do in a time frame when they're probably not going to be working anymore. And I get invited up to the dais. I'm standing in the back of the room right here, and there was somebody with a microphone. I took the microphone. I said, I don't need to come up to the dais. Sustainability is a little uncomfortable. Everybody can turn around. These people are like, who is this guy? And I said, I am telling all of you right now, Baldor Specialty Foods in 2016 will be a zero organics to landfill company in our fresh cuts operation. I get a round of applause. People are cheering, excited. Leave the conference. My plane lands in New York. The president's blowing up my cell phone. What did you say? And I said, Michael, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we have to do this. We are generating 150,000 pounds of peels and so on and so forth. We have to find something to do with this food. And through research and a lot of work, we found the solutions that Jamie laid out for you. So food, I started thinking, like, why don't we eat a carrot peel? First of all, why do we peel carrots? I know none of you peel carrots, right? Please tell me you don't. Well, in the past, people used to peel carrots. Why don't we eat the peels of a kiwi skin? Why don't we eat kiwi skin? Try it. It's wonderful. It's delicious. There's so much food, a celery butt. We cut off the bottom of the celery, throw the butt out. The butt makes great stock. So I started thinking, can we put all this food to use? So my idea was, following the EPA chart, I'm going to try to do things in our production at Baldor to waste less, right? To not to have to ever think about discarding it. And then feed hungry people. What could I do with the carrot peel? So I started reaching out to chefs and saying, when you make your carrot cake, could you use carrot peel? I'll try it. That solution worked. If you go to Haven's Kitchen, 169 East 17th Street, today they have a carrot peel cookie. Instead of macerating a carrot, they take our carrot peel. It's wonderful. And whatever was left over, we were in agreement to feed animals. Well, on November 10, 2016, as you heard, we were able to find a home for 100% of that food, and we became a zero organics to landfill company from Fresh Cuts. We did it. The rest of this pyramid needs to go away. Not the composting part, because there might be post-consumer food. If, for example, you didn't eat all your dinner tonight, it may make sense for us to take that food and compost it or create energy from it. But the bottom of this needs to go away. There is no good reason for food to go to landfill. Do you remember that clay, dusty plain that I described to you in Africa? The number one amendment to bring back the life of that soil is soil. And the best way to make soil is with food. So we can take food, we can compost it. There's such great technologies, I'll talk about a few of those later, that can be used to convert food into a soil amendment, and we can rebuild that soil. I want to walk you through a little visual because everybody likes talking about circular economies, right? So what happens is the food comes off the farm. Baldor picks it up in many instances. By the way, when we're out delivering to restaurants in New York or Portland or wherever you are, we're so close to a lot of the farms. So what we do this time of year, our 400 trucks that are on the road, 80 of them come back from food with the farm. So we can allow the farmer to be the farmer, and we take care of the transportation. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? Trucks are coming back anyway, so we do a lot of that. The food comes to Fresh Cuts, we cut it up. Some of it goes on the truck back to the farm to feed animals for our future animal proteins. And then some of it gets distributed to our restaurant partners. We bring it to our chefs, they make beautiful food, and we keep everybody happy. This is the circular economy for food, 100% of it. Now, you don't see any imagery of a landfill here, do you? Because at Baldor today, we are now a zero organics to landfill company overall. That means all post-consumer food is captured and composted. We're installing a new system called EcoRich, where we take food and in 24 hours, we heat it, we macerate it, we dehydrate it, and we turn it into a soil amendment. It's fabulous. You need to come see me in New York. You've got to see this. It's the craziest thing. Now, the soil amendment is still active because the microbes in the food are very active, so you don't add it to soil immediately, let it rest for a bit. But now we've created an asset, thank you, Jamie, very much, out of what we once saw as a liability. We've always treated that food as a liability. How are we going to move it cheaply? How can we get somebody to take it away from us? Now we're converting it into an asset. That is the most important ingredient to rebuild our soil system. Can you imagine? And it's food, and it's right in our hands. And we're right in the Bronx of New York City. So now what have we accomplished? Now we take all this food that used to get moved off to a farm to compost, which is a good solution, and now we're going to create into soil right where it's generated. We take all those trucks off the road, and we create this important soil amendment, which can be used for a variety of things in the city of New York. Crazy, right? Do you love that idea? Can you clap? Oh, this is a tough crowd. So when we think about creating sustainable supply chains now, and imagine this is going to be the thing that changes your life forever. Ready for this? Everybody with me? You, when you buy that shirt, when you buy that apple, you own the whole supply chain. What does that mean? You owe yourself and our community to take the time to understand, how is this product created? Was it responsibly grown? What's the packaging they use to move it around? What kind of transportation systems do they use? And when we make the decision on the apple, is there a local grower? Because you don't feel good about helping a local farmer, but think about the environmental impact when you eat a local apple. So we need you to eat food that's from this region. We need to build this local food system. We have something I love at Baldor called the local pledge. As a chef partner, you can say, I'll take whatever you sell to me that's grown locally, but we're not going to charge them any more than 10% higher than a conventional produce price. It's unbelievable what's happening. We have gotten to a place, since we do so much business with these local farmers, where the conventional prices and this local product and the organic prices, by the way, are getting very similar. Do you see this in your grocery store starting to happen? It's amazing. Like sometimes the organic prices are lower. You're like, wow, that's cool. This is what's starting to happen because people like you and chefs are starting to buy this food product, and we are starting to have an impact. This year alone, we bought $25 million of additional local food product in and around New York City than we did last year. 25 million. And that's having a major impact on local farms. This is just somebody working in our fresh cut area. It was really interesting. I showed this photo at a conference, and there was a chef in the audience from Norway. He's like, can I buy that? I'm like, what? He's like, that. I'm like, what? The bottom? Yes. In Norway, we take these and we sear them, and we make this delicious salad. I promise you, it'll be the most delicious thing you ever ate. You take that core, and you sear it on each side and put a little olive oil and balsamic vinegar on it. You are on your way to heaven. It is so good. And you know what we did for the longest time? We just cut them up. Now, for now, that's going to feed animals, but I'd rather see you guys eat that. Fresh cuts, really cool stuff. And by the way, I get this question a lot, like, how did you change the SOPs around collection? Guess what? We use the same SOPs, the same standard operating procedures that existed before. We just put the food in a different location. But all of the pulleys and the systems that move the product around are exactly the same. Oh, the dreaded carrot peel. Poor carrot peel, honestly. Root vegetables push their energy to their outer walls to protect themselves from dirt, from vermin, from worms. They really do their best to protect that bulb or that vessel. Because what that vessel is basically doing is it's communicating with the microbes in the soil to say, if you give me magnesium, phosphorus, ash, and something else, I will give you carbon and energy from the sun. And so they have this wonderful relationship. And so the root system gives them that. And it builds this skin to protect itself, as I said, from those potential bugs and so on. And the only job of that root vegetable is to shoot energy up to the greens to eventually produce a seed. That's it. That's the only job of the plant. What gets in the way is if we disrupt the growing patterns and we allow too much heat to come into that plant, we'll destroy the microbes in the soil. When we harvest food, we're oftentimes only looking for the bulb, but the top of the plant can be eaten too. So we need to work with our chefs, as Chef talked about today. He used the radish top. Like the best thing you should be eating for your health is a radish and a beet top. Add it to your diet. They're so good. Take the beet top, saute it down just like you do spinach, treat it the same exact way. You will love it. It's velvety, it's delicious, and it's really good for you. So you're eating that, you're eating the beet. What happens on a farm, when we clear cut all the vegetables and take them all away, what's left? Just the dirt. And what happens in a hot summer day is that sun is relentless on that soil. It doesn't have the plant to consume that energy. So the heat goes into the ground, heats up the microbes, destroys them. The microbes are not getting the carbon and energy that they need from the plant, and the soil starts to die. That's why it's really important for farmers to cover crop, even using a product that they may not sow for sale, but during that process, they are protecting the soil. Super important. And by the way, you do this in your homes too. If you cut your grass too low, you're allowing the heat to penetrate the soil, and it's destroying the microbes in the soil. What happens? You call your gardener up, well, not my house because I cut my own grass, but you call your gardener up and say, my grass is dying. Your grass is dying because the microbes aren't strong enough to maintain the root systems for a number of reasons, notwithstanding the fact that you've been fertilizing for so long that the root systems are just waiting for you to give them that stuff, and so they don't dig down deep to work with the microbes and grow. And so you've tricked the system. First hot day, the grass dies. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? We need to move to a more natural system for everything we grow. As we heard today, nature is in balance. It's protecting itself, right? Nature is fighting you from putting that fertilizer down. It doesn't want it. It's saying, I got this. Now, be patient. The root might be a little small, might be a little big, but I got you. It's going to be healthy. It's going to be good for you. What do we say? No. It's got to be a perfect size. It's got to be a perfect color. And it's got to look a certain way. And that's the only one I'm going to buy. And that's what we've been tricked into thinking. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, 40% of the food grown on farms stays there. Because the farmer goes, Sam won't want that. Sam won't want that. I'll just leave it here. And that's why we saw those tomatoes. We got to change that. We actually have to go. Like Chef Tim today, you heard what he did? He called the farmers up and said, what do you got? His purveyor called him and said, I have some Romanesco. Wasn't that delicious? Oh my God, you didn't like it? Did you like the Romanesco? You didn't like it? I thought it was so good. It was crunchy and delicious. And that was product that the distributor called him up and said, I got to get rid of this. I can't sell it. And he created a delicious meal for us. When you're creating solutions around food, make them 100%. For us, for all of our sparks, it is human consumption, poultry feed, farm usage. That's it. That's it. 100% of our food. None of our food is going to waste. None of our food is going to garbage. None of it's being hauled to landfill. In the city of New York today, 50% of the municipal haul was food. And guess where it comes to? Western Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Thank you very much. And what does that food, when it's packed into a landfill, do? Somebody said it, a lot of people said it, it releases methane gas. What happens to organic matter, no matter what it is, if it starts to break down, it's depending on oxygen to break down the organic matter to become essentially dirt or dust. In the absence of oxygen, it releases gas. So when food is trapped, like you saw those tomatoes on that organic farm, what's happening under that pile is gases forming. I have made arguments with plenty of organic farmers saying, I know that's what you have to do because you're an organic farm. We need to change that. That pile needs to be flattened out. Think about what nature does every fall. Trees lose their leaves and they're distributed almost perfectly around that beautiful tree. And what do we do as human beings? We take them away. The tree is saying, I need you, leaf, to be my future nitrogen input into the soil. So I need you there. I also need you to keep those microbes warm in the cold winter. Those leaves have a purpose. We do not need to remove them. In fact, we shouldn't remove them at least until the spring. I know that's like heresy, right? Because you know the groundspeople here at Duquesne can't even wait. That leaves, they're on it. But the reality is those leaves have a very important role to play, and we need more of that in our soil, not less. We have deprived, over the last 50 years, almost all leaf breakdown into our soil system. And we send it to where? Some other place that doesn't need it. So make sure your solutions are 100% used. That's really super important. This is going to blow your mind. You ready? There's no press here, right? No press? Okay, good. So this was Baldor, 436 tons of matter used to go to landfill on average in the month, every month, the year 2016. 2017 on average, remember, we went zero organics to landfill November 2016. Look what happened to the weight going to landfill. It's a quarter or less than a quarter today. The weight continues. In 2019 so far, we're averaging 115 tons a month. The business has grown on average 10% a year. So we should be sending 700 tons to landfill right now based on our growth, or maybe 6 something. We're sending 100. Because what's changed at Baldor is the culture. We now have such a high respect for food, we can start respecting corner stays for pallets, plastic, pallets themselves, cardboard boxes, electricity, lighting, trucks, routing, be more efficient. Because people are starting to think like, Thomas is going to come around, I need to have an answer with why I'm not doing this efficiently. And so we have brainstorming sessions with all the different departments saying, what can you do? How can you be more efficient? We're looking at, can we bring employees to our facilities less days, longer hours, so that they're commuting less and we're having less of an impact on the environment, right? We can do this. We just have to get a little creative. But as Jamie said before, what can we take off the balance sheet as a liability and put into the asset column of our company? Look what we've done with food at Baldor. We used to pay $110 a ton, we still do, for this going away. The Walenta feed solution was a $66 a ton solution. Can you believe I'm telling you all this? You must be like, where's your competition? They're going to be like all over it. I hope they are. I want them to do the same thing. Isn't that crazy? I want to help them. They can call me. My competition calls me, Thomas, I got this problem. I'm like, let's do it. Let's figure this out. I want them to do the same thing. How do we help everyone get there? We should be sending no food to landfill ever, or incineration for that point. We need to consume food or create our future soil system. Are we on board? That means at home. That means in your businesses. That means here at Duquesne. The next time I come back to Duquesne, I better not see food being commingled with the waste stream. That's not going to work, or I'm never coming back. You think I'm kidding? I will never come back here again. We have to make a commitment at this university. Since I graduated from here, this place has to be the beacon. The next time I come here, this place better be the beacon. And I mean every opportunity we have to create a more sustainable university, we have to do it. We have to be the university that every university comes to understand how we can have more integrity for the things that we are responsible for and the creation that depends on us. You with me? Let's do it. We have another program called our Imperfect Produce Program. And you might say, I know Imperfect Produce. That's that company in California. You know what? Use the name. Enjoy it. God bless you. 10 other people want to use the name? Use the name. Somebody called me the other day, can I use Sparks for a sauce I'm making at my restaurant? Go for it. Use it. Tell the story. Imperfect Produce. You know, it's so silly, really, that a carrot has to be this long. Why? What? Was it Escoffier? You know who Escoffier is? He was like the father of French cuisine. He had this idea like, potatoes need to be like these. What? No. No, potatoes. You're making a mashed potato out of, for goodness sakes. We need to get very creative in using this food, much like Chef did today. We need to tell our grower shippers, we need to get rid of sizes in boxes. You know, you can buy a 225 count lemon, a 60 count lemon boxes, so the lemon's in this big. Come on, stop. It's a lemon. Be creative. You're a chef. Most food we eat has been treated or changed in its shape and form. When was the last time you went into a restaurant, they put a whole chicken down, boom, in front of you, 10 yams and some string beans not clean? It never happens. Everything's treated. The chef's job is to curate the food and create beautiful dishes. They all do it. So what's the difference? We need to put this food to work. And you know how you're going to do it? You're going to go into your produce store. I'm watching you. And you're going to say to the produce manager, these oranges look too perfect. Why are they all the same size? Can we start bringing in like just oranges? And like tell that's what I want to see here. Or how about, why is there plastic on my cucumber? I don't want plastic on my cucumber. And by the way, Charles, if you don't change, I'm not coming back. I will find a store who sells me a cucumber without plastic on it. And you know those stores exist, right? We need to put more pressure on the other ones that aren't doing it. It's ridiculous. And it's organic. What is that called? Where's the academics? Is that an oxymoron? Plastic on an organic? Okay, and regenerative soils. This is where it's at. For the business people in the room who want to do something really cool, let's talk about regenerative soils. Food that we choose not to eat, for whatever reason, I don't care. I'm not going to judge, although you should eat all your food on your plate. I know you do. I do. I've watched you. You do. You look beautiful. We need to make sure 100% of that food is used every day, all the time. What does that mean? At home, you eat. Maybe you feed some chicken you cook for your dogs, not eggs or anything else that'll get them sick, right, Kevin? But healthy food for your animal. And then we compost. That's it. Those are your options. That garbage pail you have in your kitchen is for very, very little. I hope nothing. Maybe a little plastic wrap. If you have to use it, I don't see why you have to use it. You do not need to use plastic wrap. Get it out of your life. But there may be something that comes into your house in plastic. You put that in there, a dirty diaper, I don't know. But never food. That's tantamount to you going to the gas station and saying to the attendant, do me a favor, Bill, would you pour 2 gallons down the drain for me? I got a little extra money. And then the attendant fights you and goes, I'm not going to do that. And then they finally do it. You know, people would get really angry. John would go, are you kidding me? You can't do that. But you know what? You could take half your Subway sandwich and throw it out and not a person will say a word to you. And you want to know something? The impact of that sandwich going to landfill and everything we send from this city today to landfill has the same impact on the environment through methane gas release as that gasoline will do going down the drain. You have to believe that. Incineration in your apartments that sends gorgeous food down the drain because you feel good because you chopped it up and it went down to the sanitation department is not a good solution. It's tantamount to taking a perfectly usable sweater and grinding it up and sending it down your drain. You wouldn't do that, would you? Of course you wouldn't. We need to change these habits. They make absolutely no sense, folks. Food needs to be converted over to that asset column 100% of the time. Peels, cores, I don't care what it is, to build that soil. Thank you. I love that. I just threw up here some ideas because I always get asked, like, oh, so what can I do? You can write these down. You can take a picture. You can get the presentation from Dr. Jerry. Oh, by the way, Dr. Jerry, that accent's killing me. Where are you? I want that accent. That's the best accent in the world. Honest to God, it is. Every time he called me, I'm like, I got to take his call. I just want to hear the accent. So some of these things just help us utilize the food more efficiently, and they're just smart. And once you get used to doing these things, you will get good at it. Most of us go to the grocery store and fill the cart or fill whatever we're carrying around. I don't know what's wrong with us. We're like, oh, I can fit more, I can fit more, I can fit more, I can fit more. And then we leave the store. You're much better off buying a lot less and going to the store more often. You'll meet nice people, and you will eat all that food, and you won't have to worry about doing a lot of these things. The other thing is, if you're buying too much food, invite a friend over and say, hey, I got food for you. Bring it to your local priest. They love it. They love having a visitor come with food. So this should help you out a little bit. So feel free to get that. I love the bottom one, an avocado mask. That kills me. And so, and remember today, my first comments was thank your farmers. Because you know what? Without our farmers, really, we're really in deep weeds. We've got to respect our farmers. And we are losing farmers in the United States. You know that. So we need to help our farmers, stop at farm stands, support them, be there for them as best you can. I want to save time for questions and answers, so I'm going to leave it there. Is that okay? Is there anything you want me to talk about? Good? We're good?
Thank you, Thomas.
Remember, it's my bedtime.
Fabulous. Thanks, Thomas. So could we go on to the next slide, Thomas? All right. So here is the interactive part of the presentation. If you can understand the Scottish accent, of course. So one of you at each table needs to take out your smartphone, and you're going to upload this program on your smartphone, because we're going to engage you in questions at each table, and you'll have a little conversation on these questions at each table, and then we're going to be asking you to vote on the issue, all right? Just one person at the table. Volunteer to take out your smartphone and load this up. It doesn't take long. Just one of you at the table. Make sure every table has a smartphone looking at this slide. Please log on to the Nearpod mobile application, that's what it's called, for a question answer session. So click the URL and use the code, all right? And while you're doing that, Thomas is going to give us the first question. Where's Thomas gone to? All right.
Oh,
Thomas, you're going to give us the first question.
I was just being offered a job.
Just been offered a job. Do you want a new job? No, you're doing too good.
Yes.
Okay, what's the first question?
So this morning we heard from yesterday we heard from Dr. Jim Gates, and he made a statement. He said, extreme climate change is one of the biggest threats to human existence. Do you agree or disagree? And discuss at your table.
That again?
Extreme climate change is one of the biggest threats to human existence. Do you agree with that statement or disagree? Discuss amongst yourselves. That means you talk to each other, you look at each other, and you have a conversation.
And if you say it is the threat, which I assume you're going to,
Extreme climate
hint,
change.
hint, nudge, nudge, we need to know why. That won't be the survey, but you're going to give us feedback. Why? But we want the survey, yes or no.
We need a little technical assistance at table 9. Is anybody else having a problem?
Could one of the GAs go to each of the tables and help?
It's not the only one. No. We're going to have lots.
Our GA Hillary is telling us to look at the screen. You can see you're logging on. That's very good news.
Extreme climate change is one of the biggest threats to human existence. Comment.
Okay, this is just a warm-up question, so we'll give you about a minute, and then we're going to get you to give your feedback, and then the discussion.
I love it. It's really cool. Is it working? Yeah, this time on. You only had a minute. Ready for the next question?
Well, let's enter the answers so we see what the surveys are. You can see
Come on,
this is
Ez.
a team tag. We'll start the jokes in a moment.
Did you lose it? Time's up.
All right, Thomas, is that enough for you to then engage the question?
Yeah, because some of them ran out of time because they didn't answer quickly enough.
You still have time to answer this question.
She's timed up.
Hillary's our coordinator at the podium, and she's the timekeeper.
Are you ready for the
Long-
next question?
Okay, we're ready for the next question. Dramatic increases in pesticide use since World War II have been used to decrease crop damage. However, crop damage has increased, not decreased. Is that true or false? It's true. So you're all here. Okay, that's a bad question.
Do it again, Thomas, please.
I don't like that one. Let's do another one. Those most devastated by climate change are not those who are causing it. Is that true or false? So let's answer that question. Those most devastated by climate change are not those who are causing it. That came from Cynthia Mo Lobeda, by the way.
Yeah, note that these questions are coming from the previous presentations of the conference.
Let's get those answers up there. Ten more seconds. So now this is when you get interactive. What can you do to create a justice-seeking neighborly love? How can you, better question, how can you promote justice-seeking neighborly love that mitigates systematic inequalities? How can you create a justice-seeking neighborly love that mitigates systematic inequalities? What's one thing you can do as a team that you can agree upon? You have 60 seconds. You have to agree upon the answer. Are you ready?
I don't know what happened to the rest of the questions. I'll just pull up.
Okay, 5 seconds. Today, Ronan Barry said to us that he's inspired by the spirit and founders to remain committed to service, to have a global vision, and a concern for the poor and a sense of community. What is one thing Duquesne University can do to make this a more sustainable environment? I know that's easy for you. You like it. What is one thing Duquesne University can do to make this a more sustainable environment? 60 seconds.
Yeah, I'll add them one at a time as we go. But they never got the answer.
20 seconds. You need to put your answers up. Ten seconds. Come on, we need this one. We're going to put pressure on Duquesne. Let's go. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. Dr. Sherrod said to us, individuals should focus on what they can do. A little change helps everyone. What can you do as an individual, agree on one thing at the table and post it, or two, that you can do as an individual to make change, big or small? What's one thing you can do as an individual, agree on it, one or two things, and post them to make change? Oh, great. Yes. Before you leave. What's that? Oh, good. And I'm exhausted. All right, 10 seconds. Come on, this one's important. Let's get those answers up there. We good? All right. 2 seconds. Get those answers up. 1. Where's Nina? Where's Nina group? Because I don't think you've answered a couple. I'm going to come stand by you. And who's ABC? Where are you? Oh, you're so lucky you're not raising your hand right now. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Can everybody take your class, Aurora? Do you mind if I call you Aurora? You don't teach. What? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. You work for the University of Pittsburgh? Okay, we got to talk. No, I'm taking your class. One of the things that you mentioned, I want to make sure I get this right, although you moved through this quickly. The three most impactful things on climate change that we should address immediately, one would be looking at refrigeration systems and mitigating that. The second was wind turbines is a great investment, get into wind turbines. And the third thing is to mitigate food waste. How crazy is that? I felt so validated. I was like, this is great. I didn't know that. Third is food waste. So what will you do, or what does your group think is the thing we need to do to move along climate change in our favor as quickly as possible? What is the most important thing that your group can agree on that we need to work on right away? It could be food waste, but it might be something else. What is it? So we need to do more things faster to address climate change. What is the one thing you think we need to do right away? You guys having fun? Did you learn something? You did? You learned? Okay, good. 10 seconds. Wait, we have no answers. Educate girls. Where's Father Bill? I love that answer. Love that answer. Oh. Educate girls. 100%. We got very smart people on this side of the room. Come on, let's get those answers up there. Let's go. You got 10 seconds. You're welcome to put food waste up. Soil conservation. Where's Calv? I love Calv. Where are they? Soil. Come on, Calv. Come on. Give conference speeches. Okay. I hope you mean me. Okay, 5 seconds. Fellow, let's get up there. Can Dr. DeMarco please stand up? How many of you heard her presentation today? My God, she is so smart. She said, and I quote, "The laws of nature are not negotiable." I was sitting there going, yeah, they're not. So why are we playing with nature? We need to respect nature. Nature knows better than us. Homework assignment. YouTube, Dr. Allen, A-L-L-E-N Williams. He's one of my besties. The guy is so freaking smart. He talks about soil regeneration. He has created a farm in South Carolina where if I told you what the dirt on this farm looked like, it looked like the dust, that wasn't red clay, but dust. He has completely rebuilt this farm by only allowing the animals, 30 animals, 1 day on an acre for 30 days. So the grasses need to grow up over that 30-day period. If you go to a farm and you watch cows eat grass, they're lazy, like me. They don't want to move their front legs open to get to the lowest grass. They want to move on to fresh grass. And they do this very naturally, and they use their tongue to find very specific grasses that appeal to them. They actually will find grasses that can help their digestive system. If you leave salt licks and other vitamins out for cows, they know, their body tells them what they need. I need a salt lick now. I need zinc. And they will go find it. They're so smart. We think cows aren't smart. They're so smart. But what they want to do is move on to the next pasture. We have to help them do that. And by doing that, we keep the grasses higher to protect the soil. Dr. Allen Williams has this unbelievable video, 20-minute video, where he transformed a different farm than the one I just mentioned. And wait till you hear what the farmers say. It's called Farmer's Footprint. And if you can't find it, my email is thomas at baldorfood.com. You can write me and say, couldn't find it, can you send it to me? I'll send it. It is so great. Now, have a little something to drink when you're watching it because it's a little slow moving, but it's great. It's a great movie. So Dr. DeMarco said, we should look at what we can do to prevent harm both for ourselves and the future generations. What's one more thing we can do, not for ourselves today, but for future generations? What's the thing we can have the most impact on today that will preserve our earth and the integrity of creation, there you go, for future generations? Go ahead, you have 60 seconds. By the way, folks, this table's stacked. I'm watching you guys. You're stacked. No, Stephen Witz. I do I know him? I don't know. I don't think I know him. Really? Introduce me. Yeah. I may have met him. I don't think so. Oh, really? Oh, I love it. I love it. No. Oh, wonderful. Oh, great. Isn't that funny? I don't know him. Maybe I've met him without his hat on. Wow. You know who I'm really tight with is Tony Hillary from Harlem Brown. That's who I'm really, and he's me. He's doing the same thing, but outside, on empty lots in Harlem. Oh, that's hysterical. I don't think I met him. I know you guys got to get going home. You must be exhausted. All right, 10 seconds. We got a couple no answers up there. What time is it? Oh, we got time. We got a little time. All right. 5. Dr. Bill, get up there. Fellow. Vote responsibly. Well, we haven't had great choices in the past, but maybe we will this time around. Student? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How beautiful was Grace tonight at dinner? Was that not incredible? Is that really a Tanzanian prayer, Father? Can you, since you're so prolific, can you actually offer it to us in Swahili? Oh, so maybe it was a... Oh, I would love to hear it. That was so beautiful. Father Bill, come on, give it to us. Oh, he's going to do it.
Mama na baba, dunia yetu baba na mama, sisi tuna sali leo, jua inatua na kutoa. Ili wewe usituache sisi na kufanya kazi zetu za kitakatifu kwa kuhudumia maisha.
Can you translate that for us one more time?
Mm-hmm. We pray to thee at the sunrise and the coming up of the sun and the going down of the sun, that we do not leave behind the work, the holy work that we have of enduring life, to sustain life.
I mean, could there be a better prayer for this conference than that prayer? I mean, the author is suggesting that we should not only be grateful for just the sun rising, that already we're grateful, but I think early on Father had suggested that the tree that shades us, like think about what you take for granted every day. The food that makes its way onto your plate. When was the last time you were hungry? Think about it. And I don't mean like, oh, my stomach, I need to eat. I mean hungry. Have you ever been hungry in your life? There are people that are hungry every day. Every day. They don't know what it feels like not to be hungry. You're going to hear people say to you that we are running out of food to feed the people of the world. That is a lie. There is plenty of food. Do you recall the New Testament reading, feeding the 5,000? Father? Does it ring a bell? One of the authors said feeding 4,000. which I find hysterical because I'm like, when my wife calls me tonight, she's going to say, how many people are there? I'm going to say, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000. If the apostles could do it, I could do it. So in the feeding of 5,000 reading, you'll remember that Jesus is walking into a town, and he decides that he understands that people are hungry, and so he's going to feed them. And so the story goes something like there's a miracle associated with the duplication of the fish. I wonder if in the translation it was sort of like there was always the fish, maybe. The miracle was Christ's message is share. There's a miracle about sharing and giving. It's a miracle. You have an opportunity to perform a miracle every day with food. And so Christ takes the fish and he takes the bread and he multiplies it and he feeds it to everyone. And at the end, what does he say? I think it's only John where he very explicitly said, pick up all the pieces, waste nothing. I only focus on that line. And I think to myself, I feel like 2,000 years ago there wasn't a lot of food around. I don't know, I'm just feeling like that. Why would Jesus have to tell the disciples, for goodness sake, to pick up all the pieces? You know why? Because he knew you were going to waste today. That message is for us, just as much as it was for them. In a week or two, we're going to celebrate Yom Kippur for the Jewish folks that are with us tonight, or friends of yours. You can remind them that Leviticus, in writing the precepts for Yom Kippur, in those readings, there's a suggestion that your assets should be shared and nothing should be wasted. The holiday, part of the atonement, is to take what you have and share it as part of your atonement for the sins you've committed for the year. Powerful. Because what we have, God knows we have an inclination to waste. You have to fight it, right? We almost see it as a birthright to be able to discard. How are we going to change that behavior? We have to be deliberate about it. And if we don't have to be deliberate about it, then Jesus wouldn't have had to remind us in the New Testament, and we certainly didn't need it brought to our attention in the Old Testament. So that is such a beautiful reading, and I really couldn't get over that, and I thank you very much. For those of you who want to get involved here in Pittsburgh, we heard somebody mentioned Rescue 412. Amazing work that they do. Leah couldn't be here today with us. She tried, but she had to be in New York. Imagine that, for Climate Week. But if you want to get involved or learn more about what's happening here on that food donation front to feed the food insecure, they're doing an amazing job. I just want to open up for a few minutes of questions, and then I want to let you poor people go home and go to bed since it's after 8 o'clock at night. Questions? What do we got? Yes.
Thank you. There are so many billions of dollars put into educating the uneducated on why they should buy the cucumber with plastic wrap on it and why they should throw things away or live in that kind of disposable framework because it generates revenue streams for those industries. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is, what, in your opinion, is the best way to approach changing the way those big businesses think? And does it start simply with the individual and recognizing that the dollar itself is a vote?
Yeah, thank you. What is your name?
My name is Tom.
And where are you from? Oh, that's a great name. And where are you from?
I've lived in Pittsburgh for 20 years. I was a student here, and now I'm the director of enrollment for the School of Music.
Have you been hungry before?
I have.
You're the only person in the room I saw nod your head when I said, have you been hungry? You were like, I have been hungry.
I have been hungry.
Wow. And you're not hungry now?
No.
Okay, good. Because we'll take care of that right away. Thank you for that question. I love that question because for me, the answer is, this is where zero comes into play for me. So if I'm being asked the question, what can you do about that, or how do you make meaningful change? I say, this is how we make meaningful change. Those cucumbers wrapped in plastic, first of all, we got to get the plastic off. And all of us need to get into our produce stores and say, no, we're never buying these Persian cucumbers again. They'll tell you, well, it's protecting the skin of the cucumber. Really? Zero is a great number. That means that cucumber, first of all, we get the plastic off it, never gets wasted. If it gets to the point where it's inedible because it's really lost its body and it's just rotting away, then it becomes a future soil system. part of our future soil system. But even in that instance, it's still an asset. The change here is zero food to landfill, always, every day, no matter what. We find a home for food to recreate our soil system if we choose not to eat it. That's it. And by doing that, and if companies will embrace that thinking, they're going to eliminate a lot, like you saw that chart we had, a lot of what was being treated as garbage. And I'll just mention one other thing. What makes something garbage? I asked this question of a chef once. I said, in this kitchen, when does something become garbage? As soon as it hits the bottom of that pail. So I said to him, so if it never hits that bottom of the pail, it's not garbage, right? He said, right. I said, okay, let's play here. I noticed at the bar upstairs, the bartender was peeling limes. And I see you have a sous chef in the back doing something else with limes, which I really can't tell from here. What's he doing? Oh, he's juicing them. Okay. When I walked into the hotel library, I saw slices of limes in a water diffuser. That's right. Who does that? That's the beverage manager oversees that. I was like, can we get together? And in one place, and by the way, why does that have to be a sliced lime? Why can't it be a squeezed lime? He's like, you know what? I think you could do that. When you go to that hotel today, in their lobby, it's the squeezed lime. See, we can make change. We can educate each other. We can come up with some great ideas. Or we can just shame people. But we can get there. We can do this. Zero. It's a great number. Another question? Okay, I have never spoken to knock on like 16 questions. I don't know what's going on here. Any other questions for me?
Okay, this is a question for anybody in the room.
Great.
We compost fresh fruits and vegetables, we compost eggshells, we compost coffee grounds and filters. We don't compost cooked food or bread or meat or dairy because when we do, we get rats. How do you do that without getting rats?
Get a cat? I love you. I love you. I have two. You can have both. You have 34 cats? Oh, you don't have to worry just for rats. You got to worry. People aren't coming around either. They see 34 cats. They're like, no. That's a great answer. So anybody got the answer for that? Oh, we got the answer.
Yeah, the answer is biodigestion.
Oh.
Because it turns out the new generation of multi-stage biodigesters converts the initial feedstock into acetate and CO2. Mm-hmm. So you can use everything, including bone, skin, etc. And then the best part is after it's gone through its process, that waste left over at the end goes back to the farm. So it's carbon neutral.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was amazing. So yeah, that's a great solution. The only tweak I want to make to your little presentation there is, why did you call it the W word? That digestate is a usable soil amendment. Absolutely. So don't do that again. Take it back. Take back the word. Take it back. Did you just get here?
No, I've been here all day.
Okay.
I just left my coat on.
Don't use that word again. Be careful using that word. That's why we have a problem, folks.
I agree. We have to get rid of that word.
All right, well then why did you use it? I didn't use it, you used it.
It's feedstock.
There you go. Round of applause for feedstock. Like it. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yes.
So I know you mentioned before how we use 19% of land using fertilizer.
Yeah.
Has your company kind of looked into different producers of crops that use conservation tillage, which is pretty much just leaving everything there and letting it get back? Because that has been shown to reduce the amount of fertilizer needed, which also helps prevent saturation, drying out, because eventually they till, leave it, and then it just sits there, which is pretty much how the whole Midwest has turned out to be. Just curious.
Yeah, great question. Next question. Mr. Monteverde, would you like to answer that question? You sure? Okay. Monteverde Produce is in the room, my competition. Well, he's not really a competitor, he's more like a customer, right? So yes, that's a great point and a really great solution. One of the really exciting things that's coming out now is the use of vines and sort of fibrous plant products to create plate and flatware and other products. But at the very minimum, it should be left on the farm. It should not be eradicated and something else done with it. It should be left there. It should be allowed to aerobically digest, break down, and become part of a future soil system, for sure. Did I answer your question? Absolutely, 100%. What we shouldn't do is collect it and put it in a pile and let it anaerobically digest, unless we're adding it to a biodigester, which is happening on a lot of farms. Has anybody seen a wet or dry anaerobic digestion chamber? 1, 2, not many. Oh, this is a great day trip. Day trip 3. We're going to a biodigester. This is the coolest thing. You got to take your club. So what happens is, imagine like a big oil tank, but it's not an oil tank. What happens is, food product, animal effluent, or poop, gets put into this tank. It's spun around and mixed, and it begins to look like a dark brown slurry. Over time, gas starts to percolate. It rises to the top. The gas is captured, and it's burned. That's a wet digestion system, much like our gentleman in the back who uses foul language described. There's also dry digestion. Wet digestion takes a lot of space. There's also dry digestion, which would be a similar situation, except produce and other organic matters put like in a garage, more looks like, and an effluent is poured over it at about 140 degrees. It activates the breakdown. It adds the nitrogen that's necessary to create a high-grade methane. And over a 23-day period, the gases that are released are captured and sent over to a generator, and electricity is created. Monterey, California. Yes? Beautiful, lovely. Next time you're in Monterey, California, go to their sanitation facility. Go up to the security guard and tell them you are my friend and that you want to see the digestion chambers. They are going to let you in. You're going to drive up there, and you're going to see the garages, and you're going to see where they capture the gas. You have my email. If somebody gives you a hard time, you call me or email me. Don't call me. Email me. We're going to get you in there, and you'll see it live. It's the coolest thing. And it's very simply a tent over what looks like a garage. They capture the gas. They pump it over to the generator. They burn the electricity. They are now generating 80% of the sanitation's energy use from food and effluent. Is that crazy? Yeah, I love that. Yes? Any other questions? We got a couple more minutes. While you're thinking of your next question, I know you're all exhausted. I'm exhausted too. I got to introduce John Bersati. Can you stand, John? Yeah, stand up. So John, you know, Duquesne is an amazing place, and you're all building amazing relationships. He and I have been friends now for 30, well, is it almost 40? Wait a minute, because let me do the math. 1985, we met here at Duquesne. I don't know what it is. This place is magic. We became the best of friends. And funny enough, it was like we knew each other forever. And he's done amazing things in this town. And Pittsburgh is so lucky to have you. Really, you're an amazing, amazing person. I also want to point out my sister-in-law, Amanda, if you could stand up. Because Amanda worked on putting this thing together. I want to point her out because I have the best conversations with her. Because one of the things, when you're in my position, I start believing everything I say. But I need to be challenged too. I don't have all the answers, and I'm constantly learning. I'll tell you, and so she helps challenge me, and I'm so appreciative of you for doing that. And thank you for inviting me here tonight. Just real quick, a story to end this. I was doing a presentation like this one about a year and a half ago, and it was a large group of people. And at the end of my presentation, I was the last speaker. About 3 or 4 people stood up to a microphone, and I noticed that the lady at the end, I thought, oh my God, this is going to get hostile. I don't know what she's going to say, but I just feel it. Like it's weird, right? So she gets up to the microphone. She's kind of shaking. She goes, Thomas, you haven't been totally honest today. I know for a fact that Baldor has the largest wastewater system in the country. You haven't even mentioned it today. I said, Elizabeth, our lunch today is canceled. And everybody starts to laugh because they know her and know me. I said, you know what? Sustainability is a journey. The last time you were at Baldor, yes, we had the largest wastewater system. It basically meant food matter went into it. It got pulverized with machinery and water added to it, and it went down the drain. That was the system I inherited. I never really liked it, but it's what we had. And I said to her, Elizabeth, sustainability is a journey. And I thought that was a good solution. And I taught myself that it wasn't a good solution. What you do know is you were there, and you saw it, and you're right. But if you had been at Baldor in the last year, you know it's gone. And we're on to new things. So thank you. Of course, she like, okay, I got to get back to my seat. That's what today's all about. And Dr., let me see, tell me your name again. Sherrard. I mean, why can't I remember that? Well, your words today really inspired me because you told us to take small steps. You don't have to do a lot. How about you call a friend to commute into work with 1 day a week, a colleague that you work with? Why don't you let your staff work from home 1 day a month and tell them, here's the only condition, you can work from home, but you cannot leave your house. You cannot drive that day. You must leave your car. You can walk, but you cannot drive. I'll let you work from home. We can start having an impact if we change culture. At home, make a commitment to take 100% of that food and do something with it to create our future soil system. Let's take small steps. Let's take bold steps. And you know what? People are going to come to your house, and you're going to be able to tell them why you did it and how you did it, and hopefully you can inspire them to do it. And that's what the integrity of creation is all about, that we take ownership to creation, that we love always, every day, all the time, just as our Lord demanded us to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. That has been absolutely a beautiful journey you led us on tonight. Thank you very much indeed. We're nearly at the end now, and it's a great honor for me to do two special words of thank you. I've thanked all our speakers and our participants and many people, but there's two large groups I want to thank again. The Spiritans. This conference is to celebrate the Spiritan mission of the university. Thank you for your inspiration and your mission. And could I ask, secondly, all of our graduate students, please stand and put your hand in the air. Thank you so much for all that you did in the conference, helping us do our work so well. And Glory, I do have to ask you to just come forward a little so people can see you from behind the tables. Without Glory, she is the coordinator of the conference, and her wonderful skills, her beautiful charm, and her delightful nature enables us to put this on with such success. Glory, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. See you all next year. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, of course.
Thomas. Oh.